And away we go. It is the Aftermath. Live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com. This show brought to you by our good friends at Mio's Pizza. Anytime you're in Clifton, stop by, see our good friends at Mio's. They will get you taken care of. Great pizza. Love the steak hoagies. Great subs. A lot of good stuff at Mio's, including Cincy Light. So you can stop by, get yourself a nice cold Cincy Light as you get ready for the Bearcats to take on Texas Tech Tuesday at Fifth Third Arena. All right, Aaron, let's get this show on the road. 2 in a row, baby. They call that a winning streak.
Sure.
That's what they call it. 2 in a row. They call it a winning
Yes.
streak. Just to clear up, there was a little confusion today. Just wanted to go back over things now that we're getting into the flow of conference play. Home games will be a little later. Not going to be right after the game because I'm at the game, and then we do the post-game press conference. Sometimes in the post-game press conference, we don't get to ask the opposing coach a single question. That was really annoying today. But anywho, so it takes a little while. Wait for the post-game, do the post-game, then drive home, get everything set up. Sometimes my computer wants to work, sometimes it doesn't. But anywho, the post-game show after road games, we go as quick as we can as soon as the game is over. Home games, it does take a little bit longer, so just adjust accordingly. But winning streak, Aaron, 67-60. The Bearcats take down the Sun Devils from Arizona State. I will let you, as always, have the first crack at things. Take it away.
Jaden Quaintance is a dude. Let's start there.
It's really good. That's why he got $2 million to go to Arizona State.
Also, I knew something was up when Cincinnati was favored in a game, regardless home or away, by 10. That got a little crazy. Ended up 10.5 by tip. I didn't touch it because no, sir. Glad I didn't. But this team, what a weird game. Up 17.
Not really.
Cruising. Up 17, cruising, looking great defensively, offensively. And then they pissed down their leg and got it all the way down to 4 and figured out a way to win after they cleaned up the mess they made on the floor. Look, I thought BJ, what's his last name?
Freeman.
I thought his season was over. I watched him have to be helped off the court, not being able to put any pressure on that foot. I watched him collapse in the tunnel. And then he all of a sudden puts this magical knee brace on that has a thermometer of some sort. I don't know. There was a reading on it of some sort. Apparently that replaced his entire knee, and he comes out, pulls a Paul Pierce, and saves the day. Just a weird day at the office for you. A weird day at home watching it. I will say John Sadak and Avery Johnson commentating was a breath of fresh air. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Avery Johnson, anytime he is talking about the game of basketball, I am here for listening to all of his commentary. He is fantastic. He is not here for any of the rest shenanigans. It was hilarious. He was the only one of the two, I'm pretty sure, that ended up fixing Bandango into Bandago. He fixed it. I'm not sure John Sadak ever got the hang of it. But, it is what it is. The refs called
it's not spelled like it's pronounced. It's pronounced Bandago, and it is not spelled like that at all.
The refs called a strange game.
There's extra vowels.
I thought the refs called a strange game. They didn't call any of the stuff that was blatant. And then they called a lot of tic-tac. It was very strange in that regard, unless you were Jaden Quaintance, and then they didn't call anything on you, unless it was going against you, and then they called all of it. But just a weird game.
It was weird. There's no question about that. It was very strange. The thing about it's very predictable, Aaron. Like, I know you said it was weird. No, it's very predictable. When they sit down and have to run half court offense, they stink for a litany of reasons. I could go over many, many, many of them. When they have to sit down and run half-court offense, they stink. They do not get clean shots. When they get clean shots, they miss them. Like, it is just a cacophony of suck when they are running their half-court offense. When they push tempo, and they've been doing a better job of this the last 2 games. It's something we talked about during the 4-game losing streak. They're a great defensive team. They're a great rebounding team, but they weren't pushing the tempo. Like, you have long, fast, athletic, downhill players. They were getting rebounds and just holding it, waiting for the point guard to circle back around, throwing it slowly to the point guard dribbling across half court at his leisure while the defense is set. This is not a group of players that excel when the defense is set, when they're just running plays. When they do what they did in the first half and then at the end of the game, which is force the defense back on its heels, play downhill, attack. They move the ball quicker when they do that. They move their bodies quicker when they do that. And they play with energy. And that feeds both ends of the floor. That when they got up 17 and they decided they were going to I was talking about this to Russ Hellman, who sits behind me. They're the only team I've ever seen. Well, I've been watching UC for a long time, so UC's been pretty good at this for 35 years. They grind out bad offense. Like, you know, when you grind out offense, the point being you work the clock, you run good stuff, and then late in the clock, like you get action and you make a play. They grind out offense to get to 3 seconds on the shot clock with no fucking clue what they're doing. Like, it's astonishing how many times, like, just in that 8-minute stretch that we watched, where they were just grinding out bad offense, like just really putting in that extra effort to make sure they got to 0 on the shot clock without a clue what they were doing. Like, and a lot of it is spatial awareness. Like we saw again, Dan today drives to the rim, the defender stays home on its ease, and Dan throws a lob. My head's going to explode every time that happens. It doesn't make any sense to me. You have to be able to read a defense and realize he stayed home. I can lay it up. There's nobody between me and the rim because the guy guarding his ease did not come to me. I do not throw a lob in that situation. I shoot a layup in that situation.
Well, it's funny that you talk about, you know, this team's spacing, because there was at least one time, I'm certain there were more than one time, but one stands out specifically in the second half, where Avery Johnson was like, this team doesn't have spatial awareness. There's 2 guys standing next to each other, and in this offense, you can't have 2 guys standing next to each other. Yeah. And that's not uncommon for us to see with the Cincinnati Bearcats offense.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like it's like Jizzle on the layup that he missed. The right side of the rim was wide open. No, but just listen, hear me out. We'll get to it. Jizzle played great. This is not, but this is something with him that is common. The right side of the rim is open. Go to the, touch your fingers on the backboard, lay it off the glass, and get a bucket. Instead, he does one of these where he's like fading away to the right side towards the baseline instead of up towards the backboard to lay it in and get the easy bucket, and he missed. There's too many things like that offensively they just limit their ability to be good because they don't do the simple stuff. It's like they think that the degree of, like, they got to crank up the degree of difficulty on the easiest shit. No, sometimes you take the easy shits. They did it a couple times tonight that I like. CMOS splits the defenders, gets them to like bump into each other, straight down to the rim, lays it up off the backboard, easy 2 points. Mm-hmm. There's so many opportunities for them to do stuff like that, or they just decide to do some hard shit. Like, you don't get extra points for doing the hard shit.
especially when it's a
doing
mid-range.
easy shit,
Especially
right?
if it becomes a mid-range at that point. Yeah, no, I'm with it. That's how you end up 10 of 23 on your layups. With Jaden Quinn, I think he ended up with what, 5 blocks?
He had 5 blocks. He's an elite rim protector. He's as good naturally as anybody in the country at protecting the rim. Like he's got just massive mitts that like he snatched. Wes mentioned it. He grabbed every loose ball that was anywhere near his. Like there was 3 or 4 of them that were like, how did he grab that?
That's 13 blocks by 2 dudes in 2 games.
In 2 games, yeah.
You're doing something wrong if you've allowed 13 blocks, not by a team, but by 2 dudes in 2 games.
Not great, Bob. Not great. So it's easy to say they get cold. Natty Ron, I agree. They get cold a lot. But the solution for that is dig into what happens when it's going well. And I know Berg gets mad at me for saying this because, Berg wants to be number 1 in offense and number 283 in defense. Like that's his mission for Cincinnati basketball.
Oh, no.
Because he doesn't want to talk about defense at all. We're not allowed to talk about it. They generate offense off of the energy from their defense. And they were really good at that, but obviously they had the stretch early to start the game where they were ice cold. But I thought they got great looks in that opening segment.
In the second half, they went 6.5 minutes, I think, so almost 7 minutes.
8 minutes without a field goal.
8? Whoa.
8 minutes without a field goal.
Gross.
They met now. Dan got to the line. Keegan brought up post game. It was the third. Keegan or Russ, one of the two. Tied a career high with 8 free throws. Dan was aggressive. Got to the line.
You have a dude who's on a replaced knee mid-game. He went and saw one of those doctors in Clifton that doesn't take insurance and just pay cash and got a whole knee replacement and came back.
Where is Connor? Connor is out indefinitely. He's beat to hell. He has a bunch of stuff that he needs to get corrected. So
name a place on your body it's injured on. Connor.
Yeah. Like Connor is the game of operation right now. He's got a foot and an ankle and a shoulder. And
the wishbone.
Yeah. So I don't know how long Connor is out, but CJ Frederick has been outstanding. And look, maybe it worked out for the best, Aaron. Like maybe giving CJ, like keeping him away from things in the non-conference. Now he's fresh. We mentioned this the other night. He looks fresh. He's playing with a little more pop than anybody else on the floor.
No wear and tear on those hammies through non-con.
Right.
I'll take it.
They're getting a lot out of CJ Frederick right now. I'm really happy for him. Like he is a great kid. He adds something with his shooting that they don't have on the roster outside of him. Good to see him hit a couple threes today because you hope with as good a 3-point shooter as he is, that like kickstarts a little run for him from the 3-point line. But just offensively, we'll get to it in a little bit, but he's such a spark offensively.
I agree. It's almost a redemption thing. You can tell how much it means to him every time he hits a shot. He's got just a little quiet smirk on his face when he's doing something on the floor, and it's good to see him getting stuff done.
For sure.
Now you bring up TJ Frederick. I hate that rotation with all of my entire being. When you have CJ, Josh Reed, Tyler Betsy, Day. No, it was CJ, Josh Reed, Paige, Day, and Josh Mitchell or Dylan Mitchell out there. I hate that rotation. I think you've got to figure out a way to leave more than just Dylan Mitchell, the only starter out there on the floor, because that rotation's giving up a lot.
So I agree. I also think there is a way to look at it that people aren't really considering, Aaron. I think what people would prefer is that you just like sub 1 or 2 guys at a time.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get to it. What happens when you sub one or two guys at a time and you're trying to get everybody, all of your top 5 or 6 guys rest?
What do you need rest for when you're only 6 minutes into the game?
So that you're fresh when there's 5 or 6 minutes left in the half, instead of you're playing 10 minutes and then but here's the reason that you do that, Aaron. And there's this is the reason that it's so prominent in the NBA, and this is like an NBA philosophy, is that analytically you want your top 5 guys on the floor together as often as possible, right?
Well,
if you're subbing for 12 minutes because you're spacing everybody out, then instead of doing that in a 4-minute window, you're doing it in an 8 to 10-minute window, and now your best 5 guys aren't on the floor together for the maximum amount of time. So that's where that philosophy is, Aaron. It's analytical. I know you hate analytics.
I do. But I did correct myself on that Josh Mitchell in the chat. But it just seems that we're the only team in the entire league that won't run anybody more than 30 minutes. You have today for Arizona State, 40 minutes for Austin Mason. You had 38 for Jaden Quaintance. You had 36 for BJ Freeman, even after a knee replacement, 36 minutes, and Aaron. 36 for Adam Miller. How do we not have our guys conditioned well enough to run them more than 30 minutes? Then okay.
Listen. What the theory in this is that in the grind of 20 games in 10 weeks, you will be better suited for February. That's why you're playing this many guys. Arizona State plays guys that many minutes, Aaron. You couldn't see the bench. They didn't have anybody. When Freeman went down, they had one guy that could go into the game on the whole bench. He even talked about they've got a guy that enrolled early that was a 2025 recruit. So he enrolled at Christmas break. He just got to campus and he's never played in a game yet. And Bobby was like, I almost had to pull the trigger and put him in. If Freeman didn't come back, they were basically going to have to put a guy in that had not played a minute all season and just arrived at college 14 minutes ago. So Arizona State does that because they don't have a choice. They don't have anybody that they can put in the game.
It just seems crazy to me that we have to run hockey substitutions anytime we take anybody off the floor. We are not allowed to sub in less than 3 people at a time, 3 to 4 oftentimes. It's crazy.
It's an exaggeration, but I get it because they do it more than most. They are also most teams are only playing 7 guys right now, 7 or 8 guys, and Cincinnati's playing 9 or 10. So you're going to see more substitutions from the team that is playing more players than the other one, just naturally, because that's how math works. So you're a math guy. You know how math works. If we're playing 10 guys and you're playing 7, we're going to sub more than you.
Why are we the only team preparing for March this way instead of everybody else?
I guess we'll find out whether it's a good strategy or not. And literally in February, when are these teams breaking down? Because twice a week they're running guys out there for 35 minutes a night. I don't know if it's the right strategy or not. It might not be, but I get the thought process behind it. It makes sense that you're trying to look at this and say, we're about to do something that really nobody's ever done as a league. Because these leagues that have gone to 20 games, they started playing games, Aaron, in the Big Ten plays games in mid-December, early December. They will sprinkle in a conference game so that they don't have this situation that the Big 12 has forced upon itself, however you want to put it, where they don't have to squeeze 20 games into 10 weeks, where they're squeezing 17 games into 10 weeks. So you've got some some time to breathe. Like, I don't know what we talked about it the entire offseason, but Cincinnati is obviously looking at this differently than a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Well,
Hasn't worked for the first 3 years. Brian, this is not the first 3 years. We've never done 20-10.
I think he's talking about the hockey substitutions.
I know.
But isn't the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken, the only league that does 20 games? I think everybody else says
Big 10 does 20 games. Big East does 20 games. But like I said, the Big East also starts playing games in mid-December. So they take 2 or 3 games off of that conference slate.
I don't know. I think it oftentimes it feels like it disrupts game flow. It feels like it just changes the way. And I know that they're doing it because they want to see how certain rotations play with each other or whatever. I don't care for.
No, I get why people get annoyed about it. Brian, I'm not shilling for anybody. Piss off. If you don't want to watch the show, I don't care. If you want to know the thought process behind things, I'm explaining to you the thought process behind things. Like, this is the substitution patterns is a very NBA where it's scripted, where, we try to get this before this media timeout and then this before, you know what I mean? Like, and they've adjusted it some since they got stuck. Was it the Villanova game where they got stuck with the starting 5 on the floor all the way down to like 13 minutes?
Maybe.
I think it was the Villanova game. So, they've adjusted it some, but that is the philosophy on why they do those larger substitutions. It's so that you get guys rest and then you try to keep your starting 5 together on the floor as much as possible. That's the thought process.
I don't know. In my humble opinion, Dylan Mitchell should not be the only one sniffing 30 minutes.
I don't necessarily disagree, but like neither Day or Jizzle are going to get 30 plus minutes because they're splitting a position.
I get that.
I would I would like Seamas out on the floor as much as possible, just because you're a team that struggles offensively in the half court. Seamas has the best feel of your main guys, so I would like to see him probably more in that 30-minute range. I don't think you can play Aziz 30 plus.
Oh no, I agree. I don't think Aziz is one, and I don't think to your point, Jizzle or Day are going to be those guys because you have them switching that one position.
So it comes down to Dan, Dylan, and Seamas. Who are you going to leave out there for 30 plus? Dylan's probably the best answer. I would like to see Seamas. I mean, he's usually at what, like 27, 26, 27. What do you have tonight?
25.
25. I would definitely have liked to have seen him more, especially in that ghost segment that they didn't score a field goal for 8 minutes.
Right. When you went dark for 8 minutes, that's insane.
Yeah. Brian, you're the one being soft. I'm joking with you. Calm down. It's okay. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Seamas push closer to that. I don't know that I want Dan out there for 30 right now.
As far as him being conditioned enough to do it, he certainly could do it. He doesn't look like he's ever gasping for air. And Seamas,
he's not rebounding.
I agree.
And he's not playing great defense right now.
I'm just making the point that physically he's capable.
Yeah, but do you want him? You're saying you want guys 30 to 35 minutes.
I want Seamas is what I want.
Okay. Dylan and Seamas, I would agree. I want those two on the floor as much as possible.
And I think there's ways, if you're subbing Dan out, I think there's ways to get Day and Jizzle up in minutes. You saw it tonight where you're running 2 of them out there at the same time.
And then that takes Dan off the floor even more. It takes Seamas off the floor even more. But my point being, Aaron, it sounds great until you start doing the math. And then the math says there's probably only 2 guys that you could get in that 30 to 32 minute range.
Unless you ran small, and you couldn't do that today against Jaden Quaintance.
No.
If you slide Dylan up, but I don't know. Like I said, I mean, there's ways to do it. I'm okay with Dan. If you want to shorten Dan's role, if he's not rebounding, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'm more annoyed with his defense right now than I am. Not you, BJ. You're BJ. You're not Brian. You're BJ. You know that. You know that. Or as we used to say, shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker. Because South Park thing. He used to be Uncle Fucker. BJ Uncle Fucker. But yeah, I'm just saying, Aaron, when you do the math on it, it's hard to get guys 30 minutes, like with the way that the rotation is right now. And I want CJ on the floor, maybe even a little bit more, maybe even in that 18-minute range instead of the 15-minute range. The way that the offense is executing better with him out there.
Well, if you take any of those 10 minutes away from Josh Reed, I'm totally okay with that.
I disagree. Josh is another guy. Look, I know you don't like this, but when Josh is on the floor, the offense runs better because Josh cuts. Josh can interior pass.
But he doesn't know what to do once he gets down. If he's within 5 feet of the rim, he gets scared and starts spinning on a foot trying to find the pass instead of just going up strong, big fella.
He's not a great. It doesn't matter if he goes up strong. He's going to get his shot blocked because he's not a bouncy athlete. But if we're going to, here's the other thing, like equal and opposite action and reaction, right? We're going to complain about this team not setting good screens. Josh comes in and sets good screens. He moves the ball. He cuts. He does the things that this offense has been really bad at doing.
Then sub him for Dan instead of this mass sub where you're already bringing out guys who are probably lesser than offensively, but you're bringing him out with that rotation. That's I think where things start to run stagnant with that second rotation when Josh is one of those guys. Because then your other offense is Day, Page is trying, but Page is trying because who else is going to? CJ, who's hanging out around the arc, and Dylan.
Yeah,
it's a weird rotation.
There's not great. I don't know that there's a great option right now for this to be a good half-court offense. So if you've got guys that even improve it a tick, like it helps.
Which is why Which is why it was so fun today to see them in transition. You had 25 transition fast break points. We to play with that many fast break points, but what still felt like a slow game. It never felt like they were really like running because
there was slowed Arizona turnovers for
way down.
There was a lot of Arizona State was throwing pick sixes all day,
which it was fun. But I don't know. We wanted them to fix transition offense, and today I feel like was a giant step in the right direction in that regard.
Yeah. Why is Tyler on the floor? I thought Tyler had his best minutes in a long time today, not just because he hit a three. The problem right now with Tyler is that he's still a little handsy defensively, and he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt, and teams are challenging him. The old, that you bring the freshman in and the guy looks at him like, hey, he's on me, throw it to me. And I think Tyler is really developing. He's playing better defense than he did earlier in the year. But when they go at you 2 trips in a row and you slap down foul, get the foul called both times, they go to the line and make 4 free throws. And I think an 11-point lead got cut to 7 from 2 fouls from him that were frustrating because they probably were fouls. But we've seen a lot of times that stuff gets allowed in games, right?
Which is what I said earlier, where the blatant stuff, it feels like Dylan Mitchell had a fast break dunk that was coming, but he gets hacked on his way to the hoop. They don't call that at all. Nothing is called, and just turnover.
at the end, the turnover from Dan where he got hit, you could hear the slap 15 rows up where we were. I know the sound of hand on skin and the sound of hand on ball. They are two different sounds. They inbound it to Dan. You can hear the smack 15 rows up, and they don't call the foul.
Arnson Page early in the game, he has a block that was he slapped not one but both hands on that block. It was not a clean block. But again, there's weird hand check stuff that's called that. Okay, I guess we're more concerned with hand checks than we are with actual skin on skin contact and slapping hands and all of that.
Right. For sure.
It's so weird.
West allows the sub to play through their issues too long. I don't disagree with that. I think there needs to be a little bit more recognition of like, all right, if this thing starts to turn sideways, maybe this 4-minute segment needs to be a 2.5-minute segment. Well, instead of we bring him in here and we take him out here, but they were at 17. Just remember, everybody was complaining about the sub pattern. It went from 17 to 11 with the starters in.
2 threes. Well, and it was 2 quick threes. But just because one guy is having if one guy's having an issue of the 3 or 4 that you've subbed in, you are allowed to sub one guy out and replace him with somebody else. Like I think that's what
I'm saying.
That's what gets lost in this is if you have one guy struggling, you don't have to leave all of them in or sub all of them out. You can do one at a time. It's crazy concept, I know, but Christ.
That is the part that I do. I just don't agree with and he did it a little more today. Usually it's 2 or 3 guys. Today he went 4 for 4 a lot, which he hasn't done. It's usually 2 guys or 3 guys. So today was a little bit even more extreme than what we have seen in the past couple weeks.
But when you see 8-minute stretches where those guys are out on the floor, that's where it's like you're banging your head against the wall.
There wasn't an 8-minute stretch. It was they came in 3 minutes into that stretch.
Right. I'm saying, but they're on the floor as that lead dwindles, and that's what you're seeing. You're like, how long have these dudes been in? What are we doing here? You can sub out somebody. Do something.
That's why I don't trust the eye test, because people that use the eye test are usually blind.
Somebody has to do this show with you.
But I go back because I think it, but then I have the stats so I go back and look, and it's like, well, it's not as bad as I thought it was. So then you adjust kind of your thinking a little bit.
That's the difference between you being at the game in the media row and me being at home in front of my TV. You're thinking it. I'm yelling it at the TV, at the coach, hoping that they get the vibe that I'm putting out into the universe to sub somebody else in.
That's where I would agree with you, Aaron. If you see in that stretch, okay, I need to get CMOS back in there. Or Dan was giving us great energy and the guy we have in for him is not. Let's get Dan instead of
hot hand. Yes.
Instead of not even a hot hand, take out. If a guy isn't helping you in that segment, take his ass out. They are typically pretty rigid. This is when these guys are coming in. This is when these guys are coming out. And there's not a whole lot of wiggle room in there. So on that part, there needs to be maybe a little bit more willingness of, okay, and this is just throwing okay, Tyler Betsy's getting picked on defensively, so let's get CMOS back in. That, I agree with that side of it.
Okay. Well, at least at some point in this show, we agreed on something.
We've agreed on some stuff in this show. I know. I just again, it's emotional, right? We were up 17 and West subbed, and now we're up 6. Well, it was 11 when he subbed, so now it's 6. So really, it's only 5 that this group is responsible for.
Yeah,
but everybody thinks they're responsible for all 11.
When that happened, I felt like Mick Cronin. I didn't want to eat. Nothing tasted good. I didn't want to sleep. I wanted to jump off a bridge.
-9 on the boards. No, it didn't feel like they had a bad day on the glass. I know they did statistically have a bad day on the glass. I think some of that is just, man, Jaden Quaintance is a fucking stud.
Yeah.
Like some of that you just, what can you do?
The entire game, I'm just wondering how much better this team would be if we had Jaden Quaintance coming off the bench for Aziz. Like,
yeah, well, I mean,
and I don't even know. I don't even know that
he
Aziz would still be start. I don't.
No, Jaden Quaintance would start.
Yes,
Jaden Quaintance would start. Yeah. How many points off turnovers? 17 for Cincinnati. 17 points on 14 Arizona State turnovers. Cincinnati turned it over 7 times. Arizona State scored 6 points off of those. Here's the amazing part. Maybe this is, I mean, they give up 16 offensive rebounds to 9. That's probably where the biggest difference happened. Is Cincinnati was not very good on the offensive glass today. Arizona State did a better job than most keeping them off the offensive glass. How was the date? It was great, Gray Bush. Had a great time. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you missed 35 shots and you hope to get more than 9 rebounds on 35 shots.
Yeah. That's, it's 1 and 4, 1 and 9, 18, 27. Yeah, about 1 and 4, just over 25%. And you would like to be in that like 40, 37, 38, 40% range. I don't miss shots, Geoff. I don't miss shots.
As opposed to Arizona State grabbing 16 on 40 missed shots. So
yeah, that you want to be up in that much closer to that range than where Cincinnati was. So that was probably the difference on the glass. 16 second chance points. Like most of them were Quaintance. God, he's so good. And Neil, that has been annoying for pretty much the entirety of Big 12 play. They do not do a good job. 17 second chance points on 16 offensive rebounds. Yeah. They do not do a great job getting to loose balls, Neil. I noticed it immediately in the Kansas State game. It happened again in the Arizona game. It happened in the Baylor game. It happened in the Kansas game. That part has been, this team has got to be better getting to 50-50 balls. Well, Lukoch is being exposed. Broke. What? Broke? Today's not the day. Today's not the day to shit on CMOS. We've had plenty of those days.
At the 3 spot, though, between, I don't know if you're, I guess, 3 and 2. Between Dan and CMOS, you only have 8 rebounds total. Yeah. And you should be getting, between those two dudes, I think you should be getting probably 12,
13. Like you would
somewhere between 12 and 15.
CMOS at 5 and Dan at 7. Like that sounds reasonable for two guys with that kind of size. Dan's ability to go, like Dan's hands on the defensive glass have not been. Remember like last year, how many times it would be like, where did Dan come from to get that ball? Where did his hand even come from to get that ball? When's the last time you remember one of those, Aaron?
I feel like he's trying to do the same thing this year, but with steals. Like he's trying to intercept the errant pass or catch somebody sleeping.
Well, him and Dylan are both pretty good at getting in the passing lanes.
But he's not doing that with rebounds as much as I see that effort in trying to get in the passing lanes.
Natty Ron, I don't think you're wrong. I think what they are missing is when you get one of those 5-6 minute droughts, give this guy the ball, clear out his side of the floor, and let him go to work. and they don't. Dan wants to be that. He's trying to be that, I think, but physically he's just not. He's not strong enough in his core, in his base, to really just be that guy that stays on balance, stays on 2 feet, plays fundamentally as a scorer that plays downhill. Instead, it's Tasmanian Dan, where it's woo, like that part of hit, like it's the final step really offensively that he needs to make. But I don't know physically that he can make it. Because I just don't know that he's got that body. Now, we have seen more from Simas in that realm of late. He drove baseline and got fouled again today. Like he's doing a little bit more of that where even if it doesn't result in points, it's putting fouls on the defense. It's getting closer to being in the bonus. Like that's the stuff you need from a number one guy. That's why SK and Jaren were, 2 of the best scorers in school history, is because when Cincinnati needed points, now to Dan's credit, he did get fouled and get to the line today, which is the thing that took those 2 guys over the top, was being physical, absorbing contact. Like Dan said today, one of the things in the post game he talked about that I fully agreed with, offense moves the ball, the defense is scrambling. You shot fake a long closeout. The guy jumps, you go by him. Now somebody's trying to scramble and you pick up a foul. That's good offense, right? That's the book definition of good offense. You're making the defense play off balance while you are playing on balance. And that's how he got to the line a lot today. So I do give him credit there. But you're right, Natty Ron. They don't. Nobody has emerged as night in, night out. This guy's going to go do those things to get us points when we need them.
Yeah, we even saw Jizzle also playing downhill a little bit more today as he rediscovered his layup, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. Why'd you ban the troll? Just funny.
Well, it had devolved into now he's shitting on Butler. What does Butler have? Like, just be gone.
Anyway,
no time for that. We're actually having a pretty good conversation with the chat tonight, so trying to keep that going.
But yeah, good to see Jizzle also playing downhill today. He didn't do. He did hit some step backs, but he hit those, and I felt like they were falling because his layup was also falling, which built some confidence. Weird,
right?
His 3 was not falling, but
no. But look, what have I talked about, Aaron? How much easier things get for everybody if Jizzle and Simas are a threat. And early, like middle portion of that second half, both of them got going, and then things opened up for everybody. That's 4 guys in double figures.
Yes.
The 4 guys that were supposed to be like the 4 horsemen, right? Jizzle, Dan, Simas, Dylan. All of them in double figures. You get a win. Huh. Who would have thunk that?
That's how you score more than 40, 48.
Right. All of a sudden you're not quite, Aaron, almost to 70. If they would have been a little tighter down the stretch, they probably would have got to 70 and Brent wouldn't have lost money.
Oh, poor degenerate Brent.
I was like, you did not. He was like 10.5. I was like, dude.
Oh, no, he didn't even catch it at 10. I mean,
no, 10.5.
You still wouldn't have won at 10, but
I'm like, look, dude, if you need a little action, just bet the money line. Like, when you see a line like that looks little suspicious, then maybe just do the money line if you need action.
if I had actually bet on that game again, I don't bet against the Bearcats, so it would have gone against all of my morals. I would have certainly taken the points for Arizona State. What are you doing with the 10-point spread? I don't even know.
10.5.
Well, it started at 10. It grew to 10.5, which means you had plenty of people betting it at 10, what have you seen to make you think that this team would outscore anybody?
Absolutely nothing.
By 10. What are we doing?
What is war? What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Come on now.
Let's start. Do you have anything more? Fun. The dunks were fun today.
They were
lots of fun dunks. The lob that Dylan caught was insane. I thought better than his windmill.
Great back screen by CMOS to set that action up. Great read by CJ Frederick to wait for it. CMOS set the screen, cleared up Dylan. Like, just beautiful execution on that lob.
Avery Johnson brought that up on the telecast. So
I think somebody else brought it up on Twitter like 10 minutes after I did too. Brian, I am old. You are correct. It's absolutely right.
Yes. Individual performances then. Dylan Mitchell leads all scorers with 14, 6 of 10 from the field. Missed his only 3, 2 of 3 at the line. So he's still improving that percentage from 19 or whatever. And
what, 5 of 7, then 2 of 3. So 7 of 10?
10.
70%. Hot damn. Put that boy in at the end of games.
3 rebounds. If you're playing power forward, you got to get more than 3 rebounds. Don't love that, but 1 offensive, 2 defensive, 2 assists, 3 fouls, 1 turnover, 2 blocks, 3 steals, 30 minutes played, led all players in minutes, at least for the Bearcats. +2.
+2 is a little surprising. Not going to lie. But
yes and no. Again, they did the subbing out at the end with Jizzle, and so he's getting some of those. But
I mean, it felt like he, especially in that run at the end of the first half, and then like as they pulled away at the end, felt like he was an important factor in both of those. So I would think, but he was also like you said, he was
the only starter in
subs. Yeah. So that probably definitely that's why you don't focus too heavily on single game plus minus. West Virginia about to beat Iowa State. Wow.
Goodness gracious. Anything more on Dylan?
No.
All right. Let's go with Jizzle. It's been a while since he was the second player we mentioned. 12 points, 5 of 10 from the field, 0 for 4 behind the arc, 2 of 2 at the line, 1 defensive rebound, his only rebound, 2 assists. If you're the point, you got to have more than 2. 1 foul, 21 minutes played, -2.
He saw the ball go in the basket. He didn't shoot it well from 3, but the only 2 he missed was that layup I talked about where he kind of sideswiped it instead of going up strong through contact. But anything you can do. And then look, apparently, when I heard, he lost 7 pounds in the last 3 days.
That's great. They also said, I think Wes mentioned he had an IV right before the game.
Yeah. From what he had lost 7 pounds with whatever he's got and hadn't slept in like 3 days since they got back from Colorado.
So he's got whatever Mick has. That's such a ridiculous quote he had.
He is a very angry elf right now.
You call him elf one more time. Dan Skillings, 12 points, 3 of 11 from the field, 0 for 3 behind the arc, 6 of 8 from the free throw line, 2 offensive, 2 defensive rebounds, giving him 4 on the day, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 2 steals, 25 minutes played, +6.
By the way, Alan says Big 12 up for grabs. I do not believe that. I think Iowa State is clearly superior. The rest of the Big 12 might be up for grabs. So I'm with you there. Who are we talking about? Dan. Yeah. At times, really good. At times, exactly what you want to see from Dan. Downhill, aggressive, drawing contact, getting to the free throw line.
Yeah, he recognized a guy was on one knee.
Yeah. At times, Tasmanian Dan. And not the good Tasmanian Dan.
He got very aggressive when the guy came out on one knee like a pirate and was able to go right around him. Simas, 10 points, 4 of 9 from the field. Love to see that. He's finding his stroke again. 2 of 5 from the arc, 4 defensive rebounds, 2 turnovers, 4 steals, 25 minutes played, +16. That's a giant number. He leads all Bearcats in that plus-minus category.
It might have been +20 if you'd left him on the floor a little more, Aaron.
Well, I'm here for that argument. He's also going to the rim a little bit more, as you mentioned.
Yes.
And
that's going to open up everything
for the team.
Not just to go for,
not just him, but for the whole team.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Moving on. Day, 6 points, 2 of 6 from the field, 0 for 1 from the arc, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 1 offensive, 2 defensive rebounds, 3 on the day, 4 assists, 1 foul, 2 turnovers, a block, a steal. That block was incredible in the corner on that 3. 26 minutes, +3 on plus-minus, and that turnover late, though, is still just haunting me.
He is, I'll let him know, 90 Ron. He is, unfortunately, a little loose with the ball for those crunch time situations. I think he's playing well. I think he is giving you a spark you need in terms of pushing offense and getting, things moving after misses. Like, at times where you just don't. I saw a couple times where, he got something, pushed it up. It wasn't there, Aaron, but pushed it right to the top of the 3-point line and made the defense kind of do one of these, right? Because when you get that deep, all of a sudden they have to worry, is this guy going to beat and go try to do something? And all of a sudden they're playing like this instead of standing there on the balls of their feet, challenging you, waiting for you to do something. So that part, I think Day is bringing a significant change of mentality to this team.
He also has
being aggressive.
He's also found a mid-range. So if he can't go straight to the rim going downhill, and if he's not hitting from 3, which he only took 1 today, and again, I want to say that his 3-pointers, I feel like, have just been smart decisions. He's not taking threes just to shoot. He took a wide
open one today.
I think that part of his game has matured.
Actually, the funny part, Aaron, I think he actually shot too quick. I think he rushed the wide open 3 that he got, because it was like he didn't it didn't feel like he had plenty of time, and it was almost like he kind of hot potatoed it. I'd like to see him be a little bit more relaxed in a catch and shoot like that, because I think it was a skip pass from CJ.
I don't remember.
I think it was a skip pass from CJ where he caught it and it wasn't but I mean, you know what I mean? He was really quick. There wasn't a lot of rhythm to it.
West Virginia wins. All right.
Damn.
Next one, Tyler Betsy, 5 points, 2 of 4 from the field, 1 of 3 behind the arc, 1 offensive, 1 defensive rebound, 2 on the day, 2 fouls, 9 minutes played, plus 11. I like his
I'm not
minutes
complaining
today.
about plus 11.
I like
He
Tyler
had good
Mitchell's
minutes today. The only thing I would say is he's just got to be a little more judicious with those hands where he's trying to like reach in and slap. Maybe he needs to learn from the Mick Cronin book of you don't slap at the ball, you reach with both hands and you just take the motherfucker.
Just take it.
Just take it.
That's my ball. Josh Reed did that. And then ended up with the ball and what BJ's head.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna rip it off. How about did we get a Josh? It was far away from me, Aaron. It was on the other side of the court. Did we almost get a Josh Reed like snarl?
No,
on that play.
No.
As much as he could snarl, he mean mugged him a little bit.
No, he didn't. When it was happening,
Really?
he just had like his tongue in the corner of his mouth, like he was bored. And he was just completely unfazed. He was apathetic to the entire thing. And when the dude, when BJ Marshall just started to get real angry about it, he ends up elbowing an official. Actually, when he just started to try and get out of there and get angry about it, he elbows an official. Josh Reed just puts both arms up, like I'm over this. I got what I wanted out of it. We're good.
Tucker said he did have a look. That's what I thought too, Tucker, but I was a little far away.
I just thought he looked bored.
Tony, look. You play to the whistle, right? You play to the whistle. It's not a foul if they don't call it.
Aziz, 2 points, 1 of 1. He made his only shot today. Missed his only free throw today.
Yeah.
2 offensive, 7 defensive, giving him 9 rebounds, 4 fouls, 3 blocks. That's because they called everything. If you looked at Jaden Quaintance the wrong way, they called it. 27 minutes, 6 plus 6 on plus minus.
Mio sounds good about right now. It does, Alan. I agree with that. I could use a Mio's. Rich, send me one down. I'm sure they deliver to Independence from Clifton, right?
Nobody got time for that. Josh Reed and Aronson Page, no points for both of them. They both missed both field goals they took. Josh Reed missed his only 3. Josh had 2 defensive rebounds. Page had 1 offensive, 1 defensive. Josh had an assist, as did Page. Josh had 2 fouls. Page only had 1. Page had 2 blocks. Josh had a steal. They both had 10 minutes played. They both finished -5.
We saw, and this is not to take anything away from AP, we did see a little bit more of that small ball lineup today with Dylan at the 5. We saw it in a stretch in the first half and a stretch in the second. So just something to be of note there.
37 minutes played total with Aziz and Page.
Yeah. So 3 minutes, 2 short stretches in the first and second half, but did see a little bit of that with Dylan at the 5. Go ahead.
I'm all for whatever. I am all for throwing out some different rotations when things aren't working. When you have stretches like the first half where you went, what you said it was 0 for 9.
In the second half, at one point they were 0 for 11 and 1 of 16.
What about that first segment where was it 0 for 5?
Yeah, but I didn't have an issue with that first segment because I thought they got multiple clean looks and just missed. Like again, I'm not about like if you're getting what you want and you're taking the shot, I don't feel like you need to change things up at that point.
Early, I'm okay with it. When you're in the second half and you had a 17-point lead,
1 for 16. Yeah,
you should have made some big changes way before you got to 1 of 16.
Well, they did twice. They subbed out. It got to 11. They subbed out 4 for 4, and then it got down to like 4 or 5, and they subbed out 4 for 4 again, and then they finally were able to stem the tide a little bit.
These guys are going on a run right now and dwindling our lead. Let's sub everybody out. All our starters.
What am I seeing from Page? I don't think he's struggling. He had his best game of the year against Colorado. So look. Quaintance is a tough assignment for anybody. Like scoring on that dude he's just naturally. He's 17, dude. Like he can't.
That's
he has
insane.
He has to play in college basketball next year. You know that, right?
Because he's not old enough to go to the NBA.
Because he's supposed to be a senior in high school now. So this is his graduating class. He can't go into the NBA until a year after his graduating class.
Can you imagine if he was playing high school ball right now? What a waste of a year. What a waste of a year that would be.
Right. It's going to cost a lot of money to keep him next year.
Yes. I don't imagine he plays for Arizona State next year.
They paid him apparently $2 million this year, so
I double it.
Yeah, he's worth it. He's worth it. Give him all the NIL money next year, Wes. That literally would be. They would have Jaden Quaintance and 14 walk-ons. All right, we're at an hour. Wins. We're learning wins go a little longer than losses, Aaron.
Weird. Who would have thought?
Funny how that works. That's gonna wrap it up. Bearcats win 67-60. See you guys Tuesday night. Big one. Texas Tech comes to town. We will talk about it plenty on Monday on the BBP. And Aaron and I will do a little Texas Tech pregame on the nightcap on Monday night, the rare Monday night nightcap that we don't do a whole lot anymore. But we will see you then. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Love you guys. Great chat today. Great show. We will see you next time. That's the Aftermath. Live from the Cincy Light Studios. Brought to you by Mio's Pizza. Right here on BearcatJournal.com. Thanks, Bearcat 101.
See ya!